Let's come right up to date now and join Tori in Amsterdam, I believe. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm really, really well.
And how's Amsterdam today?
It's fantastic. It's gorgeous. We're at the Carré Theatre here for the second night, and it's a beautiful place.
So you were there last night?
Last night, and our last show in Amsterdam is tonight.
Okay, how did it go last night?
It's heaven.
Heaven?
It's heaven, yeah. The audience is amazing, really warm, great bunch of people.
Okay. So let's talk about Night of Hunters, which every one of your records is kind of a departure. It's always something new. This is new again. This is a song cycle of. Well, do you want to, rather than me attempt it, do you want to attempt to put in a nutshell what it is?
It's a 21st century song cycle, so a story based on classical themes from master composers such as Chopin and Schubert, and they're turned into songs. And the songs tell a story, and the story takes place from dusk till dawn.
And it goes very deeply back into all kinds of mythic and primal sort of stuff, doesn't it? It's called Night of Hunters. What's the significance of hunters and hunted in this?
Well, there is a creature, a character called Annabelle, who helps the woman in the story, the protagonist who I play. And Annabelle is duality. She is a fox-goose, shape-shifting being, the hunter and the hunted. And she is explaining to the woman where she maybe let herself down in her life. And the whole story starts with the shattering of a relationship. So it takes place in Ireland in a Gothic house from 1735, and they go back in time, and it's quite a journey.
And it sounds, you're saying that it takes place in Ireland in 1735. It sounds very specific, almost kind of novelistically or filmically specific. Do you have to follow the thread of the story completely in order to get the most out of it, Tori?
Well, people have said to me that they get a nice bottle of wine and put it on and listen to it that way. I suggest not driving while you're doing that.
Fine.
Some people have jumped in the car and gone across England and listened to it. I think that it's one of those experiences that you don't have to listen to it in order. You can hear a song, and I think it can make sense depending on which one you listen to.
Okay.
But it is a story, and I think maybe working with the National Theatre for the last 5 years on a musical kind of drummed into me the importance of a narrative.
Yeah.
Making things come alive and characters come alive through song.
Well, that would seem the ideal juncture. We'll talk about the National Theatre and stuff like that in a minute. Let's take a song out of context, as it were, and listen to it. Shall we have Shattering Sky?
Yeah, Shattering Sea. That's
Shattering Sea,
one
I beg
of
your pardon.
my favorites.
Oh,
yes.
Good. Do you want to say anything? Do you want to say anything firstly about it?
Well, this starts the whole story. This is the man has just walked out of this Georgian house from 1735, and it's happening now in the 21st century. But it's there are pictures that come with the music, and you get a sense of this place, and it's very mystical. And she's there alone after a huge argument, glass everywhere on the floor.
And thus begins Night of Hunters, Shattering Sea. Beginning, Tori, very specifically, I'm intrigued by this, in a house on the River Bandon, on the outskirts of Kinsale, County Cork, Ireland.
That's right.
Why there? Is it a place you actually physically know?
That is the place where we recorded part of Boys for Pele in 1995. Got the house then. It was falling down somewhat in 1995.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, the first moment that I walked into it, it kind of said to me, "You're home."
Yeah.
And I have an ancestor on my father's side that left County Cork in about, 1750 to come to the States, and he settled there and fought in the Revolutionary War. And so I didn't know all this when I got the house. I got the house and discovered this ancestor. So sometimes I don't know why you're drawn to places, but I've always been drawn to the mythology of Ireland. And the story does take place in a house where we've had all kinds of experiences, hopefully not glass being thrown all the time.
No.
But it's a magical place.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and generally, are you still based generally in Cornwall?
Well, that's my husband's place.
Yeah.
That's his heart space. Yeah. And he went there as a child every year with his parents. And I think that his parents found this place for him. And once he purchased it, he said, I feel like my parents, their spirits are here. His mom is still alive, but his dad passed on soon after. He got the house. And I think that he's very, very connected to Cornwall, and it's a beautiful place. But our daughter is now going to school in London at the Sylvia Young Performing Arts School.
Oh, really?
She pushed us to get in, and she auditioned and got in.
What's her forte? Does she have a particular forte?
She is an actor-singer. She's singing on Night of Hunters. She plays Annabelle.
Which is the
fox.
Yes,
the fox goose, yes.
Yes.
She plays the character and helped me develop it. And my niece, who's 19, she's in New York, and she plays the fire muse. So it's a bit of a family. It's a family affair. And
another change as well. I'm gathering that Night of Hunters has already broken lots of records in the States because it's kind of all over many different kinds of charts: classical, crossover, alternative, and rock. Is that right?
Yes, it has. It has made history, and I think it's really thrilling to be part of such an artistic project that has I don't know, done this. I never expected it, to be honest with you. I really didn't know. I thought, wow, Deutsche Grammophon came knocking on my door and gave me a challenge.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, well, you can't say no, especially to a girl that got kicked out of conservatory school. You can't say no to Deutsche Grammophon.
I was going to say, because for people who don't know, Deutsche Grammophon, the classic yellow label Deutsche Grammophon, is maybe the iconic classical music label, isn't it?
It is. It's the mother of all labels.
It is. So they came and asked you, and did you think, well, that's one in the eye for the people at the conservatory then?
Well, the thing is, a doctor of musicology, of course, he's German, Dr. Alexander Berg, tracked me down. I was touring, and he came and very officially said, Deutsche Grammophon would like to know if you would compose a 21st century song cycle based on classical themes. And I said, can I have a drink first?
Yeah. And
I mean, it's a tall order.
Well, it is. It is a tall order. And to talk about another tall order that's been going on a while, what is happening with the Royal National Theatre and the musical?
Well, very exciting. That is a project that has, in my experience, I've worked with some of the best creative people in theater all around the world. They've been pulled in from around the world. And our director, Marianne Elliott, was the co-director of War Horse and won the Tony in the States, as you know. And so it's an incredible team. And Nick Heitner, Sir Nick, is really also the captain of the ship, and he's guiding the musical. He's been involved, as you know, with so many musicals in the States as well as in Britain. And he's really kind of been the champion of this project. So hopefully it'll be up sometime in 2012. But we're working towards that.
Okay. Can you give us... I'm seeing spring 2012 here, April 2012.
Well, I'd say
but they've not asked you, have they yet?
Well, I've had to go on tour to do this, so things were... It might be closer to Christmas time. Let's cross our fingers. Okay. I've always liked a nice Christmas slot.
Yes, okay. And can you give us any clues about the shape that's going to take, or the context?
Well, the original story was from George MacDonald, and it's called The Light Princess.
Yeah.
But it's a jumping off point, that story.
Okay.
It's become much more, I think, about teenagers and their love story, and what happens when the consequences of certain actions.
Okay.
And it's really been quite a project to be involved in.
Now, we're going to have what we call a show and tell from you in a moment. And this kind of links into what we were just saying about taking a piece of music, in that case, Shattering Sea, out of the context of the album. Because we've been talking quite a bit this week on the show, and I don't know how you feel about this. There is much talk about the decline of the album as an art form, because you can now buy it buy tracks in bite-sized chunks on various, online stores like iTunes. How do you feel about that, Tori? Is it something that saddens you? Is it something that just think, well, get over it? Or how does it affect you as someone who makes music?
Well, the key here, and the question that artists have to ask themselves, are they making, we call them albums, but are they just really a collection of songs that aren't interconnected? Because there was a time when I think you were collecting your songs, and they were working together, and you had a theme going. But now I think you compile as many songs as you think might get on the radio, which doesn't always necessarily make a great album, if you follow me. It's more of a soundbite for you.
Yeah.
So albums for me, like the White Album, and I'm so old that I like a good double album.
Yeah. Right.
And that's just what I like. But I know it's a different generation, and yet I think there are always exceptions to the rules. So sometimes I think you can and have to make a work that you believe in, but a lot of songwriters and artists aren't designing albums, don't you think?
Yeah,
Some of them are just making songs and throwing them all together, and that sounds a little brutal, but in the early 90s, you had to think about what songs made the record, and did it make a balanced listening experience?
Yeah.
So people approach it very differently today than how they did, and there are always going to be those artists, though, where you think, no, I want to sit down and take a drive and listen all the way through to this storyteller.
Which is kind of leads us directly then into your show and tell track. Day in the Life by the Beatles is obviously the conclusion of one of the, some people say the archetypal sort of rock album. What does it mean to you, this track, Tori?
Well, when I heard it, I realized that this argument that I was having with those at the conservatory at the time, which was, there were some that were saying, look, if you're at a classical school, you learn classical music, and contemporary music doesn't have anything to do with art. And I said, well, that's ridiculous, because these guys are the Mozart of our time. And somebody said they won't be around in 30 years, and this was, 1960, 68, 69. And when I heard this track, it literally changed my life, because I said, no, they do know how to bridge the worlds of music. And this is not just about pop music or rock music. It's not about compartments anymore. And that's what I found that this song did. It broke the rules, and it became its own form.
Night of Hunters is available now. You can check Tori's website for details of tours. It's lovely to talk to you, Tori.
So great to talk with you. And come visit me. I'm at the Albert Hall.
Okay.
Or the Apollo. Come backstage, say hi.
Okay, we will.
You promise?
Promise, absolutely promise. This is Tori's show and tell, A Day in the Life by the Beatles.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.